Welcome to Home Care Business Insights, your go-to resource for exploring the many aspects of running a successful home care business. Whether you're an industry pro, new entrepreneur, or just curious about the industry, this podcast offers strategies, tips, and solutions to help you succeed. While AI-generated voices host the episodes, the insights are real and designed with your growth in mind. Let's dive into what matters most in building a thriving home care business. Now let's hear from our AI hosts.
You know, when you have a traditional corporate job, there's this really comforting illusion that the ground beneath you is just solid concrete.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Like you get a steady paycheck deposited every 2 weeks of the shiny ID badge. And, you know, you carry a job title that clearly explains to everyone exactly where you fit into the professional world.
It's defined.
Yeah, it feels incredibly safe. It feels permanent.
It does. And, you know, there's actually a biological reason for that. We're neurologically wired to seek out that exact kind of predictability.
Really? Like hardwired for it.
Totally. The brain loves a defined structure because, well, it requires less cognitive load to navigate everyday life.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. I mean, when you know your place in a hierarchy, you don't have to constantly assess your survival. It's just handled for you.
But then for a really specific type of person, you wake up one Tuesday morning, you look down, and you realize something pretty unsettling.
That it's not concrete.
Exactly. It's not solid concrete beneath your feet at all. It's a treadmill.
Yes. That is the perfect way to describe it.
You're moving your legs, you're sweating, you're keeping pace, but you aren't actually steering the machine.
No, you have zero access to the control panel.
Right. You're just keeping up with someone else's speed and incline settings.
And deciding to actually reach out and hit the stop button on that machine, that is an incredibly terrifying moment.
Oh, it's massive.
It goes against every survival instinct we're taught about career safety and, you know, financial security.
Which brings us to exactly what we're unpacking today. Welcome to this deep dive for Home Care Business Insights. I'm your host, and as leaders here at Caring Senior Service, our mission today is to pull back the curtain on this massive transition.
A really necessary transition to talk about.
For sure. We're thoroughly examining the definitive move from employee to entrepreneur, specifically right here in the home care industry.
And we really want to establish the ground rules for today's conversation right away.
Yes, please.
This is going to be grounded and highly realistic.
No fluff.
Exactly. No fluff. We're bypassing the polished, overly motivational sales pitches about, you know, how glamorous it is to, quote unquote, be your own boss.
That's not always glamorous.
Not at all. Instead, we're looking at the gritty, emotional, financial, and practical mechanics of trading a secure paycheck for purpose-driven business ownership in senior care.
So let me ask you, the person listening right now, perhaps on your commute or sitting in a home office, have you ever been stuck in a seemingly endless quarterly review meeting and just wondered what your life would look like if you actually worked for yourself?
I think we all have at some point.
Right. If you build your own asset instead of someone else's.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to map out what actually happens when you cross that line.
And to really understand that transition, we have to start at the catalyst.
Go push.
Right, because before anyone can become an entrepreneur, something has to push them out of their current equilibrium. But, you know, looking at the paths of successful franchise owners, it's rarely just a simplistic narrative of someone hating their boss or despising their job.
I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions out there.
Oh, totally.
People assume you have to be utterly miserable to leave a corporate role.
Yeah.
But often it's much more subtle. It's about hitting a ceiling.
Yeah.
You look up at the corporate ladder, and I mean, you might have even climbed into the executive ranks, but you start feeling this heavy, pervasive sense of burnout.
And it isn't necessarily because the workload is too heavy.
No. It's because you feel completely disconnected from the ultimate mission of the company.
We call that the burnout of misalignment.
Oh, I like that. Burnout of misalignment.
Yeah, because you're expending massive amounts of intellectual and emotional energy, but the output just doesn't resonate with your core personal values anymore. You might be driving incredible revenue for a tech firm or, you know, a logistics company, but you realize you're pouring all of your best hours and your sharpest ideas into building a legacy that you just don't actually care about.
Here's how I've come to visualize it. Leaving a successful corporate career is a lot like outgrowing your childhood bedroom.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. Like, you don't hate the room. It kept you safe for a long time. It holds good memories.
Sure.
But suddenly, you're an adult, and the bed is physically too short, your head is grazing the ceiling, and the walls are just too close together to stretch out.
You just don't fit anymore.
Exactly. You haven't failed at being an employee. You haven't failed at sleeping in that room. You've simply outgrown the container.
That analogy perfectly isolates the function of the corporate environment. The container is rigid by design.
Right.
It just no longer accommodates the scale of the person you've become or the specific type of impact you want to make. And if we connect this to the broader trends in our industry, this is exactly why so many highly capable career changers gravitate specifically toward home care when they finally decide to step out of that room.
Let's dig into that mechanism. Because home care isn't usually the first industry they teach you about in a traditional MBA program.
No, it's really not.
So why are former corporate executives drawn to this specific space?
It comes down to the synthesis of local impact and systemic need. The professionals coming to us at Caring Senior Service are often people who have collided with broken healthcare systems in their personal lives.
Oh yeah, the personal connection is huge.
Massive. They understand the demographics. They know that thousands of baby boomers are turning 65 every single day.
It's a staggering number.
It is. They see the hospital readmission rates, the severe staffing shortages in clinical settings, and the massive gaps in how our society supports the aging population.
And very often, they aren't just reading about these gaps in some abstract way.
No, not at all.
They're experiencing them firsthand, like trying to navigate care for their own aging parents.
Precisely. That personal friction is a massive driver. These individuals realize that they don't want to spend the next 20 years optimizing a supply chain for, consumer widgets.
Right, it just feels empty after a while.
Exactly. They want to make a direct one-on-one impact. Home care perfectly blends true business ownership with a deeply local purpose.
You want to build a mission-driven life.
Yes, a life where emotional fulfillment is inextricably linked to their financial opportunity. They want their daily work to genuinely matter to the neighbors in their own community.
So the move into home care is less of a lateral career shift and more of a pursuit of an entirely different operating system for your life.
That's a great way to put it.
But, once you find that purpose and you mentally commit to leaving the corporate world, you hit an immediate barrier. And I find that it's rarely the burial most people anticipate.
Oh, completely. People naturally obsess over the financial mechanics.
Right, the money.
Always the money. They focus on how to secure a small business loan, how to manage the franchise fee, or how to float their personal expenses.
Which, to be fair, are very important things to figure out.
They are critical variables. But the actual wall, the one that stops brilliant people dead in their tracks, is the psychological loss of their professional identity.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the anxiety surrounding that is just palpable.
It's paralyzing for some.
I was speaking with a relatively new owner recently, and they admitted that the hardest part of the first 6 months wasn't the operations.
Let me guess. It was social situations.
Exactly. It was going to a neighborhood barbecue, having a casual acquaintance ask, "So what do you do now?" and just freezing.
Because the script is gone.
Completely gone. Because for 20 years, they had a quick, universally respected corporate title to deploy. Suddenly, they had no title to hide behind.
Which leads to massive imposter syndrome.
Huge. They felt guilt for leaving a quote-unquote secure path. And they had to field the skepticism from family members who, frankly, quietly thought they were out of their minds for walking away from a pension.
That barbecue scenario perfectly illustrates the core identity risk. Society conditions us to introduce ourselves with our job titles.
I'm a VP, I'm a director, yeah.
Right. Who are you when you can't proudly state that you're the regional vice president of a Fortune 500 company? When the subsidized health insurance disappears and the structured benefits package is gone, you are forced to define your own value without a corporate logo validating it for you.
I have to push back here a little bit, though, or at least challenge how we frame this entire concept of security.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because, yes, losing that title is terrifying. If I'm making a healthy 6-figure salary with a matching 401k, my identity is deeply tied up in being a stable provider for my family.
Sure.
Giving that up doesn't just feel like losing a superficial title. It feels reckless.
Yeah.
Like it feels like I'm gambling with my family's fundamental safety net.
It feels reckless because we frequently confuse the stream of income with the source of the income.
Wait, unpack that a little bit. Stream versus source.
When you're a highly paid employee, you do not own the underlying asset generating your wealth. You are renting your security from the corporation.
Renting your security. Wow.
Think about it. If management changes, if the industry shifts, or if the board decides to downsize your division, your security evaporates overnight.
Ah, I see. So the comfort zone is actually a liability disguised as safety.
Exactly. When you step into entrepreneurship, it feels terrifying because you're finally transitioning from rented security to owned potential.
That is a massive paradigm shift.
It is. You're taking full responsibility for the asset. But getting comfortable with that reality requires an enormous amount of mental resilience. You have to be willing to look a little foolish or at least unproven to your peers while you lay down the foundation of that new asset.
So you make the mental shift. You trade the rented identity for owned potential.
Right.
Let's talk about how that actually maps onto a Tuesday morning when the doors finally open.
Dare one.
Day one. Because once you push past that identity crisis, there's this pervasive cultural expectation of freedom. The narrative is always, I'm my own boss now. I set my own hours.
I can work from a coffee shop.
Exactly. I can take a Friday afternoon off to play golf.
Which is perhaps the most dangerous myth in the entrepreneurial space.
It really is.
The freedom myth sets people up for severe whiplash.
Because you aren't trading a restrictive 9 to 5 for immediate freedom. You're trading a 9 to 5 for a relentless 24/7 reality.
Yes. In those early stages, entrepreneurship demands significantly less freedom than employment.
Way less.
You're working longer hours, you're managing intense, visceral cash flow stress, and because there is no safety net of upper management to escalate problems to, you are wearing every single functional hat in the business.
All of them.
You hold the title of CEO, but you're functionally the head of HR, the lead community marketer, the chief financial analyst, and the person plunging the toilet in the office.
And we really have to examine the unique weight of the home care industry right here. Because we aren't talking about opening a boutique that sells scented candles, where a bad day just means you sold less inventory.
No, the stakes are totally different.
Exactly. The stakes in senior care magnify the pressure of every single one of those operational hats.
The stakes are quite literally human lives.
Yes.
You're managing highly complex, emotionally fraught client situations. You're regularly sitting down with families who are in a state of acute crisis, trying to navigate how to safely care for a parent whose dementia is progressing rapidly.
Which is incredibly heavy emotional work.
It is, and simultaneously you're trying to recruit, train, and retain empathetic caregivers in an incredibly competitive labor market.
And doing all of this on a schedule that doesn't care about the clock.
Right, you are managing an operation that absolutely does not respect standard business hours.
Let's paint a picture of that for the listener. It's 2:00 a.m. on a winter Tuesday. Your scheduled overnight caregiver gets a flat tire on the highway.
A very real scenario.
Very real. Your client is a senior with mobility issues who needs medication administered at specific intervals. Your phone rings. You cannot simply put your device on Do Not Disturb because you feel like getting a full 8 hours of sleep.
You just can't.
In home care, you aren't just building a transactional business. You're stepping into people's lives during their most vulnerable moments.
That is the defining reality of this field. It's a people-first industry, and human beings by nature are unpredictable.
Very unpredictable.
Which means that the autonomy and freedom everyone desires when they first start a business is not a starting condition.
So when does the freedom actually happen?
True freedom only comes after extreme, unyielding discipline.
How does that discipline actually manifest? Like, how do you move from answering that 2:00 a.m. phone call to actually having a life?
You have to build robust, redundant systems. You have to hire exceptional administrative staff, train them relentlessly on contingency plans, and establish ironclad protocols for every possible scenario.
You essentially have to replace yourself.
Exactly. You cannot mentally check out when vulnerable families depend on your operation. The freedom you want is the eventual reward for building a machine that operates seamlessly without your direct physical intervention.
But building that takes time.
It takes intense focus and exhausting effort at the beginning.
It's a profound reality check. And honestly, the sheer cognitive load of holding other people's lives in your hands, combined with the pressure of building a business structure from the ground up, is exactly why attempting to do this entirely solo is so dangerous.
Oh, without a doubt.
Going fully independent in home care is a lot like trying to build a car from scratch in your driveway. You know,
I love that analogy, too.
you're trying to smelt the steel, design the combustion engine, stitch the upholstery, and you're just praying it doesn't explode when you tune the key on day one.
Which is exactly why people shouldn't build it all from scratch.
Right. And we are going to dive into exactly how you avoid building from scratch right after this quick break. Don't go anywhere.
We'll be right back.
A lot of people think owning a business means sacrificing your entire life, working nonstop, no flexibility, no balance. But honestly, that's not what I've seen, especially in franchising. Yes, there's effort in the beginning. Every business takes work. But over time, the goal isn't burnout, it's freedom. You stop trading hours for income and start building something with structure, support, and systems behind it. That's the advantage of a franchise model. You're not figuring everything out alone. You've got a proven roadmap and the ability to build a business that fits the life you actually want. So no, you don't have to choose between freedom and business ownership. You just need the right model. If you've been curious about what this could look like for you, book a quick call with us at caringfranchise.com and we'll walk you through what franchising could actually look like for you.
So before the break, we were talking about how going it alone in home care is like building a car from scratch in your driveway.
Right, which is exhausting and risky.
Extremely.
Yeah.
So how does a franchise actually change that dynamic?
That's why the franchise model functions as such a critical bridge for career changers. If going solo is building the car from scratch, partnering with an organization like Caring Senior Service is like being handed the fully assembled chassis, a tuned engine, and the exact engineering blueprint.
Wow, okay.
The vehicle has already been crash tested by hundreds of other owners.
But, and I think this is vital to point out, you still have to be the one to get in the driver's seat and navigate it through rush hour traffic.
Oh, absolutely.
The franchise doesn't drive the car for you.
Precisely. Franchising sits in this highly functional middle ground. It strips away the most restrictive elements of being a corporate employee while simultaneously eliminating the terrifying isolation of being a completely independent entrepreneur.
It's the best of both worlds, really.
From a structural standpoint, it fundamentally reduces operational uncertainty.
Let's break down the mechanics of that uncertainty reduction. What are we actually talking about when we say, quote-unquote, systems?
We're talking about the mechanisms that usually sink new businesses.
The pitfalls.
Right. When you step into a proven franchise model, you aren't sitting at your kitchen table at midnight trying to invent a legally compliant HR manual.
Thank goodness.
You aren't guessing at how to build a caregiver recruitment funnel that actually converts applicants into employees. You're handed established payroll structures, local marketing playbooks, and systems that are already compliant with really complex state health regulations and licensing requirements.
Right, because you're bypassing years of painful trial and error.
Decades of it, really.
And frankly, you're bypassing thousands of dollars in systemic mistakes that most solo entrepreneurs just have to pay out of pocket to learn from.
Yes. But beyond the operational and financial systems, a strong franchise network solves one of the most insidious, hidden dangers of entrepreneurship.
It is.
The profound loneliness of leadership.
Oh man, I'm so glad you brought that up. We touched on the identity crisis earlier, but the day-to-day isolation is heavy.
It's a very real burden.
When you're running a solo business and you hit a massive operational wall, who do you turn to? You can try talking to your spouse, but they likely don't understand the nuances of the home care industry.
Right. They can listen, but they can't advise.
Exactly. You can talk to your old corporate colleagues, but they probably still think you're crazy for leaving the corporate safety net in the first place.
But inside a franchise ecosystem, you are plugged into a built-in peer network. You have access to dedicated corporate mentors.
You're not alone.
More importantly, you have fellow franchise owners across the country who have faced that exact 2.0 AM caregiver flat tire scenario we talked about.
They've lived it.
They can tell you exactly how they handled it, what protocol they implemented, and how they prevented it from happening again. You retain the autonomy of owning your local business, but you are supported by a massive safety net of collective intelligence.
Okay, so the franchise provides the chassis. They hand you the systems and the network. But you still have to execute the plays.
You still have to do the work.
Right. And I imagine that spending 20 years managing a corporate marketing department doesn't perfectly translate to running a local home care business. When these former employees step onto the field, what actually works and where do the wheels usually fall off?
It is so fascinating to watch the skill transfer happen. Many new owners arrive with this deep-seated anxiety that they lack some elusive, quote-unquote, entrepreneurial gene.
Like they need to be Steve Jobs or something.
Exactly. They believe they need to be a solitary visionary, constantly inventing groundbreaking new products.
Which is such a relief to realize isn't true in this space.
Not at all.
You do not need to invent a new way to deliver care to win in this industry. Your everyday corporate skills, the things you probably take for granted, are actually highly functional tools here.
They are the foundation of success.
Really?
Absolutely. If you survived for decades in corporate America, you inherently know how to communicate professionally with stakeholders.
Which now translates to doctors, hospital discharge planners, and stressed families.
Exactly. You understand project management. You know how to collaborate with a team and maintain operational consistency. In home care, reliable execution and basic professional respect matter exponentially more than having a flashy new disruptive idea.
Just showing up and doing what you say you're going to do.
Consistency is everything.
But there have to be deficits.
Yeah.
Corporate America teaches you how to be an excellent manager within an existing ecosystem.
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily teach you how to own the ecosystem itself. So where are the missing links?
The gaps usually appear around horizontal integration.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, in a corporate environment, departments are siloed vertically. You manage the marketing budget, and you never really have to consider how your ad spend directly impacts the janitorial supplies or Friday's payroll.
Right. It's someone else's problem.
But entrepreneurship requires you to see the entire board. Everything is connected.
The financial literacy becomes a massive hurdle.
Absolutely. Understanding the mechanics of cash flow is critical. You have to grasp why billing a client on a net 30 term, while legally required to pay your caregivers weekly, creates a cash flow gap that will completely sink your business if you haven't managed your working capital properly.
Oh man, that math will catch up to you fast.
It will ruin you. Another major deficit is confident decision-making.
Because you no longer have a layer of middle management to validate your choices.
Right.
You can't run a proposal up the flagpole to see if the VP approves. You are the flagpole.
You are the flagpole. If you make a strategic decision, you have to own the consequences entirely.
That's a lot of pressure.
It is. But across the board, the absolute hardest skill for former employees to master is the psychology of delegation and boundary setting.
Let's really explore that. Why is delegation so uniquely difficult for someone who has likely managed teams before?
It comes down to a fundamental shift in how you evaluate your own worth. When you're an employee, your value is generally tied directly to your personal output. You're rewarded for your ability to execute the work yourself.
Right, you get praise for being the one getting things done.
So when you open a business, your instinct, especially when you're stressed, is to just do everything yourself. It's that classic, if you want it done right, do it yourself mentality.
But in home care, if you try to micromanage every client assessment, every caregiver interview, and every scheduling shift yourself, you will completely burn out in 6 months.
The math simply does not work.
You physically cannot be in that many places at once.
It guarantees failure. The transition requires a profound mental shift from, quote, doing the work to leading the people who are doing the work.
That's the leadership piece.
Exactly. You have to hire competent office staff, and then you have to actually let them run the office.
Which is terrifying.
Delegating often feels incredibly uncomfortable because it feels like losing control. But for an entrepreneur, effective delegation is the only mathematical way to actually gain control of your business and your life.
So if we pull the lens all the way back, what does this all mean for the listener? Today has really been about acknowledging that while entrepreneurship is not universally better than traditional employment,
No, not at all.
like some people genuinely thrive in structured corporate roles, and there is zero shame in that.
Absolutely zero shame.
But for those who are seeking deeper purpose, who desire true ownership, and who want to make a tangible impact in their local community, this is a completely life-changing transition.
It's far more than a simple career move. It's a fundamental personal transformation.
Yeah.
You're actively changing your professional identity, you're redefining your relationship with risk, and you're taking absolute ownership of your daily reality.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave the listener with something to really chew on. For the person who is standing right on the edge, looking down at that corporate treadmill, heavily considering hitting the stop button, but feeling paralyzed by the fear of the unknown.
Right.
What is a critical perspective they should be considering that we haven't touched on yet?
I would challenge you to look far beyond your own immediate career timeline and your own personal comfort.
Okay, looking bigger.
Yes. If you successfully navigate this transition, you are not just changing your own life trajectory. Consider the multi-generational impact.
Oh, wow.
When you actively choose to step out of a rigid corporate structure and build an asset as a business leader in your community, you are fundamentally rewriting your family's dynamic.
That's incredibly powerful.
You're changing your family's risk tolerance. You're visually modeling for your children what it actually looks like to bet on yourself. And you're creating a lasting legacy of service, ownership, and resilience for the generations that come after you.
Wow, that completely reframes the stakes.
Yeah.
It isn't just about escaping a job you've outgrown, it's about the structural legacy you leave behind.
Exactly.
You aren't just leaving a childhood bedroom, you are finally taking the raw materials and building the entire house.
That's exactly it.
Thank you for joining us into the realities of home care entrepreneurship. Keep growing, keep questioning the systems around you, and keep moving forward. We will catch you next time.